Hello everybody and welcome to Heroes of Book and Paper. This is a little game I bought on a whim after seeing it recommended on Steam. So this is a solo, short, tabletop-inspired RPG-like experience. It's actually closer to a text adventure. However, it is presented with this kind of beautiful little book kind of theme and shown to you as a tabletop experience. Now, there's several different classes and a bunch of different stories that you can play through in this game that are sort of like a tabletop style of experience. However, depending on the class you pick and the gear you have and the level that you are, the experience of each one of these stories can change. So if you die, you do lose a portion of this experience. However, it will still allow you to keep your gear and then continue to replay the different stories. So let's dive in with a new character just to show you. Now, I've been messing around a little bit with the warrior class, but our classes available both in male and female variants are warrior, we have a wizard, we have a rogue, we have a bard, we have a necromancer, a priest, and a hunter, as well as an assassin. I'm just going to play the warrior because bonk stick makes sense to my smooth brain. So we're going to click on the warrior, and we're going to go with the lady warrior. And we have a choice of weapon here that we can start with. We can start with a spear, we can start with a flail, we can start with a club or an axe. I'm actually going to start off with the spear because I know things. Now here, once we get in, we have a series of different stories that we can choose. We have the first adventure, Barbarian Labyrinth, and it gives you a little description of this story. Now, we also have our selection of difficulties. We can go up to very hard and impossible, which gives you like a nerf on your rolls. Also all the way down to very easy if you just kind of want to experience the game. Then here is the interesting bit. You can hit endings. Now, endings gives you this list of all of the different stories and all of the different possible endings. So I guess kind of your goal with a character would be to get all endings on all stories with the character. Now, the first adventure plays pretty quick. You can play these in any order. However, you might be underleveled for some of them and you may just die. So keep that in mind. And again, you do lose experience and you do lose, but you do keep your gear. That being said, if it exists, I haven't found a saving function in this game, so I'm not sure if this is something you're supposed to play through all in one shot, or how exactly that's supposed to work, because upon playing through the first 4 missions here, and then exiting the game and then restarting it to do this recording, I didn't have the ability to reload my characters, so I'm not entirely sure what's up with that. If there is a way to save, it's not exactly clear. But that being said, we're going to run through the first adventure, and I'm going to give you kind of a brief overview of what this game is, and then we're going to dive into the Barbarian and play a little bit of that as well, and hopefully by the end of these 2 stories, you will have an idea of what to expect from Heroes of Book and Paper. So like I mentioned earlier, it is presented like a book, like a novel. However, the gameplay is much closer to a text adventure. So over here on the left, we can see that we have our HP, our gold, our XP, and our current alignment, as well as our weapon, I think that's a spell slot and a armor slot. I'm not entirely sure what that slot's for, to be honest. I haven't actually filled it up with anything just yet. Now, this can either be armor or a shield. We have strength, dex, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and I can remove items from my inventory, and this is my little inventory. Now, I think this is a sort of game that would be excellent on like a phone, or alternatively, using Steam Remote Play on a tablet or on a Steam Deck, just because of its very simple control scheme. But we have this lovely little diagram of what's going on, and if for some reason the text is too small for you, you can turn it up to very big. But then you do have to scroll the text, which is a little meh, in my opinion. Aside from that, that's basically it for the settings. When you launch the game, you have the option to launch the game in windowed mode instead of in full screen, if that works better for you. But moving back to this main screen, you are near the inn at a crossroads, and the road ahead goes to the cave. And there is a dark forest around you. The impossible mountains rise majestically on the distant horizon. So we have an inn close by that we can go to. We're going to go to the inn. This is the last inn before the impossible mountains. The innkeeper looks at you and says, "What do you want, my friend? Here is sold the strongest beer of all the region. To manage to drink it without falling on the floor would show admirable stoicism. I can sell them items, I can buy a torch for 1 gold, or I can speak with the locals. I think we're going to buy a torch for 1 gold. So we have now earned a torch. Now, depending on the run through the mission, the items that this dude sells might change. So the outcomes of the story could be slightly different depending on which items you're able to achieve by the end of it. We're going to speak with the locals. All right, everyone knows that from this place that the cave further north hides an important treasure. It has not been fully confirmed, as those who have entered it have never returned. All right, well, cave. We shall go to the cave. We can explore the surroundings or go to the road, so let's explore the surroundings. The forest is very thick and deep, and you see a deer in front of you. If I had a bow or a magic missile, I could hunt the deer, or alternatively, I can take a dex roll and try and hunt the deer. So we're going to attempt that with the spear. This forest is very thick and deep, and you have a deer in front of you. You got meat. You have hunted a deer, and we have acquired meat. So if I look at this, we now have meat in our inventory. I can now back up, and we can go to the road. You are beside a well. A wretched and grimy goblin asks you for a coin. Give me something, please. Life is hard here on the border with the wilderness. Well, I don't have a coin to give you, so I could kill the goblin or I can continue the path. Let's attempt to kill the goblin, shall we? We stab the goblin to death because we are becoming evil, clearly. We're now going to continue the path. This forest surrounds the cave to the north, and you will find an entrance. There is a small pond to the east among the trees. You see what might be a bag of a lost adventurer. I can search the bag with an intelligence roll, or we can go to the cave, or we can go to the pond. Or if I had a horse, we could ride to the witch's hut. Now, the horse is something that you'd have to acquire from a later mission with enough gold. So by either replaying missions or going to later missions and then coming back and replaying earlier missions, you can have different outcomes. So I'm going to grab, I'm going to go to the, well, first let's search this, might as well. You can't find anything. My intelligence roll was too low. We're going to go to the pond. The pond seems very calm, and some fish can be seen under the crystal clear water. We can fish with a spear, or I can catch fish with the net. We do not have a net, so we have to use our spear. We're going to try and fish with the spear. We failed. So now I can listen to the sound of the water and drink some water. The water was very fresh. We are going to go to the cave. You are at the entrance to the treasure cave. You are close to finding out if the stories were true. We enter the cave. The cave has dark galleries, large height differences, and a labyrinth of stalactites and stalagmites. From here, you see two possible paths, one to the east, where there is a huge precipice, and one dark and mysterious to the west. Well, we could go either direction. We do have a torch, so we can clearly go somewhere dark and mysterious. And the large precipice, well, we're lacking a rope or something, so we'd have no way of getting down. So I guess we should go to the dark and mysterious one to the west. The darkness is total here. You will not be able to continue if you do not have a light source. We can use a torch, or a spell in theory. The torch illuminates your path. A gallery dug into the mossy ground continues ahead. Inside you hear faint noises, but you cannot tell what is making them. And you have been attacked by a rat man. Caution, you are not using a combat spell. Well, that's okay, because we have combat spear, so we can combat stab him in the face. Now we attack with our dex roll, because it's a spear. You have rolled a 2, we get a total damage of 2. Now combat in this is very simple. It's just attack or leave, basically. So we can attack, still plenty of HP, and we won, and we get a jeweled ring, which I'm sure has some value. So the jeweled ring, we can't equip that in any way, so loot, money, probably for later mission. Now, I theoretically could cook food if we had some mushrooms or fungus. I just have meat, so there's no way for me to cook food. I can observe the area with my wisdom, but my wisdom's pretty low because we're just some measly warrior. You find a good resting place, and in a wide, high-ceilinged grotto. There is space to have a small campfire and recuperate with a meal if you have food in your backpack. I'm going to attempt to observe. We see nothing interesting, so we can just continue. We have now been attacked by a bugbear who I can't flee from, so caution, you're not using a combat spell once again. We're going to fight with the bugbear. We get a stab in that's successful. He does no damage to us. He does 1 damage to us, which is fine. We still have plenty of HP left. We get another single damage in. And he continues to do no damage to me. So far, pretty good. We took a little bit of damage. We're down to 9 HP, nothing major. And damage continues to go down. I think if I were to complain about anything with this game so far, I wish that there was a little bit more variety in the combat. So I wish I could, instead of having like spell or stab, I wish I had like like a defensive attack, a non-defensive attack, something like that. But honestly, the writing and the choose-your-own-adventure novel style of storytelling that this game has is more or less enough to carry the game for me, considering its small price tag, which I don't actually think I mentioned so far. It's $8 in Canadian money, so like $5 or $6 depending on your region. We can get a pitchfork. I can look at that pitchfork and we can see what oh, never mind, I can't. You found a treasure. The legends were true. The end, unfortunately, the booty obtained from inside of the chest is not much. After all, the legends always tend to exaggerate, don't they? Plus 15 XP and 3 gold and an ending 1 of 2. So we've earned one of our endings for the small adventure. So we can scroll through the different endings that we've earned. We can click on the level up button, but we can now spend our experience points if we have enough to spend, which turns out we don't actually have enough experience points aside from leveling up to level 2, which is what we've done now. Now, if I had some extra points, I could, increase some stats and whatnot. We can see the prices of the amount of XP that it takes to level a thing up. So 60 XP to level up my intelligence, 150 to level up strength, etc. And as we increase our stats, the later missions will become easier. Now, we could replay the first adventure and try and get a different ending, or alternatively, we could move on. So for the sake of this video, we're going to move on. We may die here, though. You enter a barren land far beyond your home on the borders of Terrania, an ungoverned land known as the Harshlands, and recently invaded by the Serpent Cult. On your way, you find a Wheel of Pain, and a dying barbarian is hanging from it. Well, we can free the barbarian, leave the barbarian, or kill the barbarian. Let's free the barbarian. The barbarian is free now. Oops, I clicked through that by mistake. The road ahead of you is surrounded by an arid desert, formed by the advance of the sober needs. So I haven't actually accidentally skip through a page. I wish I could wind back one page. That would be a very nice feature for a game like this. The road ahead of you is surrounded by an arid desert formed in the advanced sea. Okay, so we can go to the sand forest or a huge rock. Let's go to the huge rock. I like a really big rock. A huge rock stands in the wasteland next to the desert. It seems to have a vein of metal inside of it. Well, I do have a pitchfork, but I don't unfortunately have a pickaxe. So I could click this and it'll tell me I do not have a pickaxe. So we will continue on our journey. 2 large statues in honor of the Prince Cobra indicate that this is the very beginning of the territory claimed by the Serpent Cult. Maybe you'll find revenge beyond the steppe. We can cross the steppe. If I had a horse, I could speed things up, or I could cross this using a map, which I don't have. So I could also surround the steppe, which I'm curious about. Let's try surrounding the steppe. It is a long way around these steppes, and the sweltering heat and lack of water will make the journey very hard. I can continue using my constitution, or we can give up and say back. Let's go back. We're going to cross the steppe. A creature emerges from these devastated lands. It's a snake. We can kill it with spear, or I could just fight it. So if I have a spear, which I do, I can get a kill on it. Or alternatively, I could use magic missile if I was a wizard, which I'm not. Or I could just fight the snake in a normal combat. I'm going to use the spear, which gives us some XP. And the creature emerges from the and we can continue with our travel. Not far from you is Kema, one of the great cities conquered by the Serpent Cult. It is a good place to begin your search for those who have killed your parents. A mummified body lies crucified next to a sign, and there is a cart full of dead people and a road to the east away from the city. So we can go to the sea. I can read the sign, or I could loot the corpses, but we are neutral, so it won't let me root the corpses. Or I could take the eastern road. So I'm going to read the sign. A sign are the names of those who are wanted by the justice system. The crucified corpses are not so lucky to escape. So let's go to the city. Oh, the majestic one! The splendid city of Kema is now the veritable dunghill since the Serpent Cult conquered the city. You may find some clues here if you know where to look. So we can go to the stables. We do have 3 gold. We could go to the market, or I could ask about the Serpent Cult, which I'm going to do even though our charisma isn't the highest. The locals tell you you will find a Serpent Cult tower if you travel east, and that you will only be able to access it at the time of a changing of the guard. Okay. We can go to the stables. So if I had 5 gold, I could buy a horse, and if we had a horse, we could sell it for 4 gold, and then theoretically go back to the previous mission once we finish this one with said horse, and then go to that witch's hut. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to back out, and we're going to go to the market. So I could buy a sword for 7 gold, which I don't have. I could buy 1 green essence for 1 gold, which is for the spell classes, or I could sell items. I could sell this jeweled ring for 2. I could sell the pitchfork for 2, which would get us 5, 6, 7, which would get us up to 7. So that'll give us something. Let's back out of there and buy the +1 sword. Now from here, I can go to my what's it called? My inventory here, and I could equip the sword, which has some differences. I mean, they're both dex weapons. The sword does +1 extra damage versus the spear. So the spear does 2 damage, whereas the sword does 4. But it's good to keep the spear in the inventory because it is a useful item for like fishing and such. Once we back out of these stores, you cannot return to them. So just be careful that once you've left a location, you're ready to leave. We're now going to explore the city. The serpent cult has left many people desolate, and many of the inhabitants eke out a living by begging. I could give a coin to a beggar. I can't, so we will continue exploring the city. You have crossed the entire city finally, and a secluded corner of the city, you find a citizen willing to tell you where you can find the serpent cult. There, to the east, you will find one of their towers. They are everywhere, spreading like a disease. We're going to travel to the tower. To the east of the city, you find a serpent tower. These infernal towers are everywhere. It is said that these dark rites are performed inside, and valuable treasures are kept in their chambers. As the citizens of Akima told you, there is a time at the changing of the guard where, when vow? Oh, I see. When you can enter without being discovered. I have to scroll down. Mouse wheel. I was previously playing with the text on very large, and so I was used to scrolling, and I was very confused when, like, suddenly the text was cut off because it generally fits when you have it at the default size. But here we go. Let's enter the tower. This tower has countless rooms and corridors. In front of you are stairs leading down to the pit of the great beast. A dark corridor lies to the east, and to the south you will find a main chamber. To the south you will find a main chamber. You will also see thick and closed wooden door. We can go to the main chamber. We can descend into the pit and fight a legendary enemy, which would probably kill us, or we can enter the dark corridor. Well, we do still have a torch, so let's go for the dark corridor. But it doesn't let me use the torch, which I think is a little strange. So, strange and highly flammable vapors emanate from the corridor. Well, there you go. It is impossible to continue without a light source. This is completely different from the last time I played through this portion, so keep that in mind. So instead, we are going to go into the main pit, because I don't have a lock pick. The main hall of the temple is where the serpent cultists worship their unholy gods. Behind this room, you will find a chamber of offerings where possibly some kind of treasures are kept. You may be able to search it if you're not spotted. So I could use stealth for dex, but my dex is pretty high, so let's give it a dice roll, shall we? You cross the room in total stealth without being detected. Booyah. You reach the main chamber, and in it awaits a small treasure trove of offerings from the cultists and their victims. So I can get the treasure. It is 3 gold, and we can escape. You escape the tower alive, taking some treasures with you, and now you are hunted by the cult. Only 3 gold? Jeez, man. And now you're hunted by the cult, and you will not be able to get rid of them until you confront them and defeat them for good. So I can escape to a near old necropolis or escape to an old dead fortress. Let's go to the necropolis. That sounds exciting. You escape to an old necropolis. This would be a good place to ambush the cult members. North of the necropolis is a small emissary. Okay, so I can set a trap with a rope or net, which I do not have. Right? I can wait and fight. I can use a bone flute, or I can go to the small emissary. We'll go there. And here rest ancient guardians of the necropolis, protectors of these lands. Their spirits are said to still roam here and can be summoned if you know. So if we're playing as a necromancer, I'm sure there would be some interesting outcomes here. I try to find something, but my intelligence is too smooth-brained to be able to do anything of value. I'm not good. I'm neutral, so I can't pray. We may have gone to a not great location for our character, but that's fine. We always make decisions, and we're going to wait and fight. You have been spotted by the High Wizard of the Serpent. Oh, great. Well, we can attack using Dex. He does 2 damage to me, and I do 0 damage to him. We do 3 damage, and he does 0 damage. We do not know what his HP is. He is strong, but he is near death, so hopefully we won't need to hit him too many more times. We're down to 4 health, and we do get the kill on him. He did 2 to us, but we were able to take him out, and we got a WIS amulet. And so let's check out what that. Oh, well, I can't. The barbarian you freed from the wheel of pain stands before you. You fool! I'm the executing arm and servant of the serpent cult. The southern tribes took me prisoner, and you made the mistake of freeing me. Now die. Well, you are attacked by the barbarian. So he's an average enemy, which means he probably will only take 2 hits to kill. But so do we. He does 1 damage to us, and we do 3 to him. He's healthy. We have 2 HP left. He's wounded. We are near death, but so is he. He does no damage to us, and we're very, very clench-like able to kill him, and we get a extra gold necklace. You have taken revenge on those who plundered your village a long time ago, and the Prince Cobra is still alive, and it won't be long before he appoints a new lieutenant, or lieutenant, as I feel like I should say, hidden away on his distant island. You have to face him again, but that's another story. Plus 30 XP. So we get 160 XP so we can level up. And all of that jazz. So now over here I think I'm just going to level up my strength. If we have these items left over at the end, like I said earlier, I think I said this earlier, if I have fish and meat in my inventory, I can get +1 extra strength, etc. So collecting items and not using them during the story allow you to level up your character as well. And then, if we select the previous stories, we can check the endings and see we have Righteous Vengeance and a Small Treasure both unlocked. So, this is a neat little game. I really wish I could figure out the saving situation. However, I do think this game is really kind of cool. A lovely little thing to kill a couple minutes and as well as videos rendering, or a nice way to wind down at the end of the day. A nice little solo kind of choose your own adventure book experience with enough variety in there and thinking to kind of keep the good brain chemicals going. I do recommend that you check this game out if this is the sort of thing that interests you. Also, I may have just figured out how to save. So if I hit save here, I can type in, write the name for your game. So let's just say test save. I see. Test, save, and then save. I see. So the reason the game didn't save back at the beginning is I simply didn't realize that there was no auto-saving. And, oh, okay, there is auto-saving. Interesting. So I could actually load my other save from here probably. There we go. That makes me a lot happier. So we can now go back to the book, and I've completed these first 2 missions, and I can reload those later. Or alternatively, start a new story and go through as a wizard or something else. I'm going to leave this video as is, just because I've put about an hour in now since that initial save. And so it is good for me to know that I can save the game, but just maybe a note to the developer if they're watching this to maybe make your saving system a little bit clearer to the player, because I did lose about an hour of progress. So, all being said, this game is very cheap. It's the price of a fancy coffee at Starbucks, and if something like this is interesting to you, support cool games and neat art, because I think that's what this is. The writing is charming, the combat is a little bit simplistic, but suits its purpose, and the kind of choose-your-own-adventure story nature of the game is pretty goddamn cool. I recommend you check this game out if this is something that's interesting to you, and if you do, leave the game a review on Steam to help these small developers out, and let them know that I sent you. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.